Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for honoring the invite. And I think the purpose of the press briefing will have been issued to yourselves. Let me then welcome Minister Fikile Mbalula, as well as the Deputy Minister Bongani Mkungi, General Patlane, as well as General Matakata. Thank you very much, Minister. Over to you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the press, the top management of the Hawks, led by Acting Lieutenant General Matakata, Lieutenant General Khomutso Patlane. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This morning I had a meeting with the senior management of TPCI. The meeting sought to inform them of the decision I took on the 12th April and also a decision by our courts to withdraw the appeal lodged at the Supreme Court of Appeal on the case brought by Helen Suzman Foundation and Freedom Under Law. The reason we are gathering here is both informed by the outcome of the court. The court accepted the minister's withdrawal of the application for leave to appeal. General Ntlemeza proceeded with his application for leave to appeal, and this was dismissed with cost. The counter application of HSF Foundation that the order of 17 March 2017 be operational and enforceable was granted, and the cost for the counter application must be paid by General Ntlemeza. This means that we must give effect to the order of 17 March 2017 that set aside General Ntlemeza's appointment. The effect is that even if General Ntlemeza decides to appeal further, the order of 17 March 2017 stands and is not suspended. I am expected to act in best interests of the public, to guard against wasteful and irregular expenditure. Therefore, this case lacked prospect of success. Going forward, what is expected from all of us is to fight crime and corruption. We want the Hawks to spare no one irrespective of their status in the society. I'm concerned about the current arrests. We are not hitting our target in fighting crime. We should reach those targets in the near future. Society perceives Hawks as a unit with low morale, and that is one aspect that must be corrected going forward. We must guard against the perception that we are useless and truthful institution. We need to change the public perception in this regard. The perception that has enraged over the years must actually be changed. Our mission is simple: to fight crime and nothing else. For so long as we are able to embrace the mission, we will always ensure that all of us were enjoined by unity of purpose. When we can only do that if we are in cause together and understand our mission. The DPCI must never be viewed as an institution that does not combat corruption, done either in the private and the public sector. I have reminded senior management of the DPCI that their job is to fight crime, irrespective of who commits the crime, their status in society, or their political affiliation. As the Minister of Police, I want the DPCI to have a unity of purpose. It must inspire confidence in our people. The DPCI must be an armed elite unit that is clinical in the way it executes its work. In short, it must be the pride of our people. Therefore, I have instructed those who feel that they are not equal to the task to jump the ship. Together with DPCI, we are not an institution in crisis or in a state of emergency. We will regroup as a unit, as I hereby do at this juncture, invoke the provisions of Section 17CA 12C of the South African Police Service Act, 1995, Act number 68 of 1995, which provides, I quote, whenever the office of the national head of the DPCI is vacant, or the national head of the DPCI is for any reason unable to take up the appointment contemplated in subsection 1, the minister shall appoint the deputy national head of the DPCI as the acting national head of the DPCI, close quote. Ladies and gentlemen, drawing from said provision and in light of the vacancy created as a result of yesterday's ruling, it is my honor and privilege to introduce to you the acting national head of the DPCI, Lieutenant General Matakata. Congratulations, General, and I wish you well in this demanding responsibility. It is my expectation and that of society that all members will rally around you with the support you will require. I had also received a brief from Civilian Secretariat of Police that there is a vacancy in the office of the DPCI judge. Very soon, I will be embarking on the process of filling the position of the judge. As soon as due processes have been concluded, I will make the announcements in the due process. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister, for reading out the statement.
And now, before we proceed, I would like to sign the letter that reads as follows. Where did you steal the letters now? This is serious. Now, this letter is directed to Lieutenant General Matakata, Deputy National Head, Directorate for Priority Crimes. And dear General, appointment as an acting national head of the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation. Whereas the post of the national head of DPCI is vacant, you are hereby, in terms of Section 17CA 12B of the South African Police Service Act 1995, appointed as the acting national head of the DPCI from 13th April 2017 until further notice. It is trusted that you will fulfill this important task with diligence, and you are welcome to approach my office at any time in respect of any problems, challenges being experienced. Yours faithfully, Minister of Police, Fikile Mbalula, Member of Parliament. Signed on the 13th of April, an important month, 2017. You don't clap hands. Okay, thank you. You will sign there, General. You sign it? I've signed, okay. Thank you. Unfortunately, General Patlani, this is not for you. Thank you. I'll now invite the acting head of DPCI to give remarks, and then we'll proceed to take questions from members of the media. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. It is my honor and pleasure to accept the appointment of acting as the national head of the DPCI. It is indeed going to be a task upon me and the members of the DPCI at large to fulfill the mandate that has been given to us by government. We are here to serve the people of South Africa, as you have already alluded, that we must do that without fear of favor, regardless of what standing a person has. There are perceptions that have been around about the DPCI and the role, but we would adhere to that mandate given to us by government and also ensure that we fulfill your vision and the expectations from your side. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you very much, General. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take the first round of hands for questions, and then we'll then move on. To be yourself, Graham, and yourself, put in yourself. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll come back on this other side. Okay, Karan, you can shoot.
Sorry, Minister, Graham Hoskin from the Times newspaper. Ma'am, congratulations on your appointment. Minister, to yourself, in terms of the allegations that have been levelled against General Ntlemeza, especially by the city of Johannesburg and IPID announcing that they will be investigating, that he blocked corruption investigations, or will you be suspending him? And also following that, will you be instituting disciplinary action against him? Thank you, sir.
To the Minister, the National Development Plan makes it very clear that the appointment of the head of the Hawks needs to be someone that's seen by the public to have public faith. In terms of the process that you're going to undergo to appoint a permanent head, is that going to be a public process? Are we going to see a great deal of transparency? Because as I'm sure you're aware, your predecessor, Minister Ntleko, has come under a great deal of fire over the appointment of Ntlemeza, particularly given that the court has found that he withheld those scathing judgments from the panel that appointed the Hawks head. So how are you going to make sure that the appointment of a permanent head is an open and transparent process that enjoys public faith? Do you think that these findings against Ntlemeza have done any damage to the kind of investigations that the Hawks were involved in, particularly what appears to be the abandoned SARS investigative unit case, the aborted case against the former finance minister? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry.
Good morning, Minister. Anton Meyer from Pretoria FM. There were reports yesterday that Ntlemeza took an early retirement package. Did he make such a request to you? Are you aware of an early retirement package? And if so, can you maybe just give us some amounts of what that early retirement package would amount to? Thank you.
Yes, yourself.
Good afternoon, Minister. It's Mpho from News 24. I wanted to ask, will the decisions made by Mr. Ntlemeza since his appointment be reviewed by the ministry or overturned? Is that a possibility? Thank you.
The last one.
The previous Hawks head was given a golden handshake to exit. So what is the settlement in this matter with the now previous Hawks head, as he asked, what amounts are we talking about here? How was it negotiated? And also the new acting Hawks head, if she can tell us what is she going to start on, what are the priorities right now that you feel that the Hawks has to tackle? The Minister mentioned that there are perceptions of the Hawks being an organization that is not necessarily pursuing what it's supposed to do, and that it's being used as a political tool. So what are you going to do to address those concerns? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister.
First, with regard to disciplinary action, it doesn't obtain because we're following the court judgment. And in terms of the court judgment, General Ntlemeza is no longer the head of the Hawks. And the court, and in as far as yesterday, even in our statement, has actually dismissed. And in terms of that, what stands is what the judgment the judgment that have been passed and sustained yesterday. So there is no question about the judgment. I mean, there is no question about DC because we're implementing the court decision in this regard. The process to appoint will be a process that will be in the context of what is expected of the law, that will be followed to the latter up until cabinet. First, we'll follow all processes in terms of briefing cabinet with regard to this matter. And as soon as possible, our desire is to ensure that we appoint a permanent head of Hawks in the Republic, probably before end of the year. And that is as a matter of agency. But we'll follow all due processes. As to whether or not the public will be, privy to the processes, of course the public will be. In the context of the processes that we follow to appointing the head of Hawks, the public will be privy to that in terms of the appointment. Cases that General Ntlemeza undertook, all cases must be, the law has not been suspended. So all the cases that have been undertaken by the Hawks under the leadership of General Ntlemeza are not suspended. The law is not suspended. In this particular regard, those who take over will review as a collective and continue to undertake the mission to fight corruption and crime, irrespective of what position anyone occupy in society. And we've emphasized the question that we need to deal with perceptions. We must be clinical. We must not, the Hawks must not be viewed as the unit that basically undertake a mission under some political influence, which it has been brought about in the public domain in the process of executing an important mandate. Their mandate is very important, and the leadership of the Hawks actually understand that. We need to deal with that perception. And how you deal with the perception, it is about the practice. What you are going to do to undo the perception. That is very important. So the law is not suspended. What we abhor and what we are against is for an important specialized unit like the Hawks to be viewed in the light of how it is viewed in the public domain. It is important that we must actually deal with that. And we have emphasized that the Hawks have done an important and a very, very, commendable job over the years. As much as we're faced with these challenges, we emphasize the point equally that there is no crisis or a state of emergency. The change of guard as a result of the courts and all of that is what it must be observed by all. And we must continue with the work of ensuring that we rid South Africa of all crime and corruption. And that is what is important. General Ntlemeza's early retirement, I'm not going to discuss that because it is entirely upon him in the implication of the court case as to how he go about in addressing that question. But from where we stand, he has basically taken up an appeal. As much as he takes up an appeal, the judgment against him stands. So there's no question about it. It has been granted that he can go to the Supreme Court of Appeal to actually appeal. That is granted. But if you read the judgment yesterday, it says that what has actually been passed on as a judgment in the last judgment actually stands. So that must be understood. So the package of retirement, it depends on an individual, what choices you make in life and all of that. Our duty is to ensure that we execute, what the courts have actually decided. decisions, will they be reviewed? The people who are in charge of the Hawks are here. So the law is not suspended. What they are expected to do is to execute their mandate without fear or favor. And we have raised the issue about perceptions, that people are just being chased for political reasons. We must deal with that. It's a real thing, and it is important that the Hawks also in terms of their work, so that they are not hindered in their work by perceptions that are, are going on out there in public. And it is important for the Hawks to deal with that. So in the context of executing their work. A settlement. Well, settlement can only apply where in which there is, an agreement that I am now retiring before end. The courts have decided. And if you read the court judgment, it will tell you that there is no settlement due from our side, unless otherwise. So that is why I'm saying that the question of retirement is entirely dependent on a person and the advice that individuals do get from their lawyers and those who advise them legally. So it's a personal issue at the end of the day that we can only cross the bridge when we get there to talk about issues of early retirement and so on. It's a point that I don't want to entertain at the present moment, because there is nothing that obtains that says that the status quo remains. It doesn't. It doesn't. The status quo doesn't remain. The status quo has changed as of yesterday. And that is why we're implementing today in terms of the directive of the courts. Is there anything that I've left? Deputy Minister, you think, okay?
Today, Myvi was present on Tuesday last week when we presented our case to South Africans, that one of our mandates that we have is the fight against crime. And we reinterpreted that this fight against crime is going to be a war against crime. So today's decision that is taken by the minister is a show of force in terms of the change of gear in the police force and also in all the law enforcement agencies. One of the fundamental things that this decision message gives to people is that, one, that we're not going to tolerate endless court battles. Our war is on crime on the ground. That we must not see now law enforcement agencies go in and out of the courts, losing court battles without resourcing crime and resourcing police on the ground. That is the decision. This decision wants to change the perception that is there for Hawks. That Hawks only looks or focus on politicians, especially those politicians that are coming from the ruling party, not looking at the broader mandate of the Hawks, which is to fight corruption, money laundering, and other related questions. One of those is to fight against economic crimes. Thank you very much.
General.
Thanks, Minister. On the question of what priorities that I'm going to deliver on or focus on, is just to continue in ensuring that the DPCI delivers on the mandate given to them by government, and is already alluded to that we have to focus as the Hawks on serious commercial crime, that is big economics in the country. We have to focus on serious corruption, which we are doing with different stakeholders, that is government stakeholders that we're working with, where we ensure that we deal with serious corruption that is big in terms of the value of the money, in terms of billions. So that is our mandate. And that is the priority, that we continue doing that and delivering on that. Nothing else. And therefore making sure that the people of this country has confidence in the Hawks and delivering on that meeting. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Minister, TM, as well as the General. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take the second round of offense. It's yourself, number 2. You've got a follow-up. Okay, let me say number 3, and then we'll do the follow-ups quickly.
Good morning, Minister, and to the delegation. Just a question, it's broadly related to the leadership within the SAPS. You've been in the police minister for now, what, a week and a half, I suppose. Could you just describe, in this week and a half, your current relationship as it is with our acting National Police Commissioner, please? You know, just so we can get a sense of how you're easing into this and how it's working. Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Elaine. I'm from Rapport newspaper. I just want to know, as the court has set aside General Ntlemeza's appointment, will this have implications for the appointments he made during his time? I want to know if these appointments will also be set aside. And then also, is there a place for General Ntlemeza still within the Hawks if he chooses to stay and not retire? Thanks.
Mareike from Mark from Jacaranda FM. Good morning. Barry, I think pretty much covered my question already. Just, Minister, if you can take us into your confidence about your relationship with General Tshwane and the top management and how things are going, specifically considering there are some murmurs about unhappiness. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Karen Morn from eNCA again. You were talking about the perceptions that the Hawks are serving political interests, but it's not just perceptions. You saw Sean Abrams in litigation disclosing in court documents that he believed that General Ntlemeza had willfully withheld exonerating documents in the Pravin Gordhan case. We've also had the PRASA CEO Popo Molefe say that he's gone to the Hawks and made serious allegations of corruption in terms of the PRASA deal, and nothing has happened. We also know that Anwar Dramat went ahead and said that he was handling the Nkandla matter and that he believed that his removal from office had something to do with that. For the acting head of the Hawks, I understand you were even involved in the appointment of General Ntlemeza. I don't know if that's correct, but how do you now, having been part of that machinery, then assure South Africans that actually issues like Nkandla, issues like PRASA, issues like the kind of things that we're seeing happening at Eskom are going to be properly investigated? Because up until now, and Minister, you alluded to this, the Hawks are missing targets. We aren't seeing big-scale corruption cases in courts, and certainly no one is being convicted. And so the public perception, and even the perception to some degree of the prosecuting authority, is founded on what appears to be fact. Thank you.
Sorry, Graham Hoskin again from the Times. To the Minister, just two questions. Have you met with Mr. Ntlemeza? And if you can indicate, if you have, what was discussed. And also, please, your comment on allegations by the Joburg mayor that Mr. Ntlemeza deliberately blocked corruption investigations into the city of Johannesburg. And, sorry, ma'am, to yourself, will you be looking at these corruption allegations and instituting an investigation into the alleged corruption? Thank you.
You mentioned that Ntlemeza is personally going to appeal that decision. So what is the status right now within the police force? And going forward, what's going to happen with him, as my colleague asked, if he doesn't step down? But currently, what is the status now? And also, I have to touch on the matter of the acting commissioner. There was an issue with the IP possibly investigating him, and Paul Sullivan also, that scandal that came there, that was there. And you have been on this mission since you started off saying that you want to clean up and you just want to get done with the job. So with those matters hanging, still unresolved, how are you going to handle that? when it comes to acting commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you very much. Well, relationship with SAPS, I think we have had our first meeting with the top management of the South African Police Service. We have received a detailed report with regard to the work of here together with the Deputy Minister. Our primary job is to ensure that the rule of law is observed. But over and above that, we need to intensify our fight against crime. Fighting crime It's not the task of the police alone. It is the task that involve society. So partnerships are going to be important in that work. And we're going to lead in that work. We've got to be there where our people are terrorized by criminals, and we must make it unbearable for criminals in South Africa. We must squeeze them. We must squeeze criminals and make the space very small for them to run away. They must understand, as much as they can promote criminality, it's a matter of days, time, and seconds before we arrive. Life must be unbearable for criminals. And to do that, we are then going to need the buy-in of everybody in the fight against criminals. And that is important. So I'm quite happy from where I'm sitting with regard to my interaction with the police management and all of that. I've had a lot of interaction, people calling and seeking for meetings with me and engaging with me. I'm meeting with all the stakeholders, a job I'm prepared to finish very quick. PSIRA, you know, we've had a handover with them, and then Firearms Control Board, we're going to meet with them very soon. We're hard at work as we speak now. We finished last night, 12 midnight, deciding on what we need to do in the next 100 days, because we've got to hit the ground running. As much as we're talking Ntlemeza, the fundamental question is that, what does the men and women in the street say about the police service and security of the country? That is important. We are not going to lock ourselves about issues that belong somewhere and that must be resolved quick and fast, and then we move on. And we stay with those that are a challenge. Whether the challenge will be medium or long term, it will depend on how we attend to that. So that is what must be understood. So we need a buy-in of all South Africans in this fight. Our people can't be gripped with fear from criminals who are robbing, gun-toting criminals are running amok in our country. We must be decisive in that fight. And SAPS is an important ingredient in the fight against crime and in the leadership of stable security of the country, and making it a point that South Africans feel safe. Appointments that he made, look, there is management here. So you examine the appointments in the context of the appointments that have been legally made in terms of the environment of the police. I can see most of you are now changing the goalpost. Ntlemeza is done, now we must chase other people. You are bogging us down on things that we need to be bogged down. What is your agenda? Is your agenda to fight crime? Come with us in that agenda. Tell us if you've got problems with people. The media is important, because some of the criminals we don't know, we know them from you. You inform us. You are going to be an important partner in that regard. But don't play marbles with us and change the goalpost from this person and to that person. Equally, the media can be influenced politically with vested interest. And what is important for us is to ensure that we move forward without and minimize vested interest and become South Africans with a national agenda and national interest of serving our people. And that is what is important. In this particular instance, with regard to positions and all of that and the appointments, there is management here. And management will make a determination about the movement forward. But equally, there are capable people in the Hawks who must continue with their work. We can't bring instability and crisis and bring the state to a total halt. Criminals are grinding outside. And I am intending to ensure that that grind stops. And this machinery must be well oiled. And that is why we're out of the courts. I went out of that court precisely because of national interest, but equally, I'm not going to pursue cases where they will have an impact in terms of fruitless expenditure and wasteful expenditure. Why should I run around in courts when I know that the case cannot be won? In fact, we have lost it from day one. So we should have just observed the law, went back, and do what is right. That's what society wants from us. If Mbalula is misled by advisors who know that they understand the law, and then the judgments come against us, we must follow the law. Waste no time. And then unless if we feel deeply about the issues and the fact that we need to fight on, then we can. And then society must equally understand. As much as we are here, we are not on our own. South Africans out there must see us doing justice and acting in their best interest to the best of our ability. And South Africans want to see job done. That's what is important. South Africans will always ask a question, because the law is not only for those who have understood law. The laymen in the street want to see it, understood by the principles of natural justice. They want to see justice being done. They don't want to sit there and say, but this is futile. Why should this go on and on and on and on? And that is what we represent. A relationship with General Patlani, Acting General Patlani, I've got a good relationship with him. We are surely not friends. We are maintaining a professional relationship, and he's been a professional policeman, out and out. He has never done anything that's to suggest to me that I must doubt him. You've got issues with him that you have reported, and some of them have been in the courts. We are observing those issues. But from a point of view of his conduct, I'm not gossiping him. I'm saying it on national television. I don't know whether this broadcast is live. If it's not live, please switch it on, because I'm about to talk about Patlani. He's been a good policeman to me and my team when we came in, and he have executed his mandate from the time we've interacted to the best of his ability. And we want to maintain it as such going forward. And that is what is expected from those who are in positions of responsibility. We are still going to have our own meeting in terms of one-on-one. We have met with the top management, but we're going to have our own meeting between ourselves and General Patlani in terms of the immediate things that we need to do, because it is important for him to understand, and it is important for me to understand what are the immediate, medium-term and long-term issues that we need to address. He surely understands he's in an acting position. The term of office of the former Commissioner of Police is coming to an end in June. And then very soon we'll be faced with appointment of a permanent commissioner. And I can see most of you now are campaigning that I must get rid of him. Please give me a chance. Give me a chance. Don't campaign. This is not an election. You are about to organize a big march against me, I can see, on this particular issue. But don't campaign. We're dealing with security matters. We're dealing with security matters, and we're dealing with the police. We're not dealing with a spaza shop. So don't push us to the point where in which we must take decisions on our feet. I can see the headline every day, Minister, get rid of Patlani, and all of that. And the next question that follows, will the minister allow the public to appoint a new commissioner? The new commissioner is not appointed like the public protector through interviews and all of that. Let's understand the law and all of that. But we'll act transparently for all of you to know. And probably when we arrive at some of these decisions, not all of you will be happy about. And that must be accepted. But my mission, together with the Deputy Minister, and our mandate is to bring stability, is to ensure that we don't minimize, we get rid of acting positions. People must be confirmed in positions going forward. So you all know that General Pierre contract is coming to an end, and what are the issues in relation to that? You all know about that. So we will be dealing with those issues, and before end of the year, all the vacancies should have been filled, and then we don't have acting positions. Perceptions against corruption and all of that, Karen, I think you are spot on. We've got to deal with that. I mean, it cannot be that that justice has got eyes. It doesn't have eyes. It must deal with corruption wherever it manifests itself. And there is a backlog in relation to this corruption. People want to see successful convictions. against corrupt acts. You are saying that there is corruption in the Republic and all of that. Our job is to lock corrupt people successfully, working with all agencies of the law. And the Hawks is an important part of that work. So the top management, when I met them, and we're still going to meet, today we met with them to brief them about the decisions of the courts and the action that is going to follow. We're still going to have a meeting where there will be a sharing of work that they've been doing, and at the same time, what is our strategy? Our strategy is very clear, is to reduce acts of corruption. Like Deputy Minister said, fighting corruption means that we must deal with those who are basically perpetrating corruption, who are basically on holiday here in the Republic, because probably we're busy with other things. We need to bring those people to the fore. You know, if you remember the cases of Fidentia in the past, all those people have been locked up, and some of them are just dancing and having fun because we're busy with squabbles. We must lock up corrupt individuals in the private and the public sector. It doesn't matter. And that is the order. And our Hawks unit is capable of doing that. It's got highly specialized and well-trained operatives and agents. And they must do that. And they must execute that job. So we're going to interact with them going forward. The work doesn't stop. As we speak, the work of fighting corruption is actually grinding. Have I met General Ntlemeza? Yes. I've met General Ntlemeza twice. I've met him at the handover meeting in Sheraton. I've also met him in my office. The last meeting, which was not physical, is when I informed him of my decision to withdraw the appeal case for the reasons that I've explained. So effectively, it is twice physically, it is once on air that we actually met. And my point to him and to everybody, our decision has never been malicious. Has never been malicious. It is a decision that is informed first by public interest, but equally it is informed by what, in our view, it is really a futile exercise, you know, where in which we're in the courts for the sake of it. But ours has never been malicious. And I've explained to the top management of the Hawks equally that it is important that we must move in concert going forward, and that everybody have agreed that they are all on board, and that there's nobody who was here to serve an individual. We are here to serve the country. And to that effect, I've directed General Patlani from yesterday to get everything that belonged to the state from General Ntlemeza, but as of immediate effect. And that must be handed over to the new acting Lieutenant General. As to whether that will be complied with, it's another case. If not, steps will be taken to ensure that there is peace and harmony. There's no need for fight because our actions have not been malicious. It was to ensure that we implement what, in our view, was in the best interest of the South Africans and in the execution of our mandate. General Ntlemeza's status, can I read again to you? Probably you didn't hear me when I read. Let me read to you. The reason we are gathered here is both informed by the outcome of the court, right? The court accepted the minister's withdrawal of the application for leave to appeal, okay? General Ntlemeza proceeded with this application for leave to appeal, and this was dismissed with costs, okay? The counter application of HSF Helen Suzman Foundation that the order of the 17th March 2017 be operational and enforceable was granted, and the cost for the counter application must be paid by General Ntlemeza. Okay? This means that we must give effect to the order of 17 March 2017. Okay? That set aside General Ntlemeza's appointment. So it answers your question. The court have set that aside. The effect is that even if General Ntlemeza decides, to appeal further, the order of 17 March 2017 stands and is not suspended. That is what the court was saying. Once again, we welcome General Matakata, and we have said to all involved that this is an important task going forward. And I think it answers your question with regard to the status of what you ask about the status of General Ntlemeza, and that is what must be understood. So, as to what happens into issues of retirement and all of that, it's an issue that pertains to an individual, and whether or not it is negotiable, it depends on the attitude. That is it. But the law, as how we interpret and understand it, it stands. So there are no shortcuts with regard to that. So it must then be understood in context and in what the law obtains from yesterday's judgment. Thank you. It's fine.
Just once, but it will be literally a minute, because the minister must go somewhere. Of this course.